1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience domestic abuse in their lifetime, and nearly half of survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina started the Purple Leash Project to help eliminate one of the many barriers domestic abuse survivors face: a lack of pet-friendly domestic violence shelters. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters across the country, so abuse survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to get involved.
You're ready for a comeback. And with Purdue Global, you can do more than take classes. You can take charge of your story, of your career, of your life. Earn a degree you can be proud of and get an education employers respect. It's time, your time, not just to go back to school, but to come back and move forward with Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults. Start your comeback at purdueglobal.edu.
Looking for a good mystery? A case that needs solving? And the road trip of a lifetime? Then buckle up for the return of CBS's hit show, Tracker, with high-stakes action, gripping mysteries, and a hero you won't forget. This Sunday, Justin Hartley returns as America's #1 new hero, Coulter Shaw, a lone wolf survivalist who travels the country, using his tracking skills to rescue missing people and take down dangerous criminals. Think you can keep up with Coulter? Don't miss a new season of Tracker, starting on CBS Sunday at 8/7 Central and streaming on Paramount+.
What's good? It's Colleen Witt, and Eating While Broke is back for Season 3. Brought to you by the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartRadio. We're serving up some real stories and life lessons from people like Van Lathan, DC Young Fly, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and many more. They're sharing the dishes that got them through their struggles and the wisdom they gained along the way. We're cooking up something special, so tune in every Thursday.
Listen to Eating While Broke on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Presented by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The 2024 presidential election is here. MSNBC has the in-depth coverage and analysis you need. Our reporters are on the ground. Steve Kornacki is at the big board breaking down the races. Rachel Maddow and our Decision 2024 team will provide insight as results come in. And the Next Day Morning Joe will give you perspective on what it all means for the future of our country. Watch coverage of the 2024 presidential election Tuesday, November 5th on MSNBC.
It's Amanda Rieger Green. Welcome to Soul Sessions podcast. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to do a deep dive into the numerology of the 9. And this is important and relevant for a multitude of reasons. And the biggest one is 2025 is a 9 universal year in numerology. And if you're newer to numerology or just getting started, or you're an old pro, this is for you. It's for anybody out there who really wants to step into and expand their consciousness, their meaning and purpose as we move and shift from 2024 into 2025. But the 9 doesn't play. Like, the 9 is here to grow and learn, and whether it is through pain and suffering or joy and beauty alike, it's here for every vibration there is. And I'm going to explain the details and attributes. But if you add 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5, that equals 9. So that's how we get the numerology of 2025. Also, October of 2024 is a 9 universal month in an 8 universal year. 2024 is an 8 year, and October is the 10th month of the year. So when you add 10 plus 8, the universal year, it equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. So we're in a 9 month in an 8 year, and then 2025 will be a 9 year as well. September is the capstone month. So your personal year matches your personal month, or the universal year matches the universal month. Whereas October is always a preview into the frequencies and the energies of the year ahead. And it doesn't just work that way in the universal numerology, it's also that way in your personal numerology. So your personal year you get a little preview into the frequencies of the next year, whatever year you're in personally, and then the universal year. And I have podcasts on this you can reference to calculate your personal year in numerology and blogs, and we will link those if you're a little bit new to this. But it's an important energy. The 9 is quite literally the sum of all the numbers that come before it. So if you add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, that equals 36. 3 plus 6 reduced down equals 9. So on a literal level, the 9 actually equals all of the frequencies of the single digits, including 0, that come before it. And that's heavy. It's a lot. There's an element of comprehensiveness that comes with the 9. There's an element of completion. There's wisdom. There's humanitarianism that comes with the 9. But it's a heavy energy that is seeking more light. And if that sounds familiar to you, that's what it feels like and is going on in our human consciousness, our genome, our mind, body, spirit evolution. We are seeking more light. We're bringing more light into our bodies. So anything that is heavy, dense, and diseased, out of whack, out of alignment, out of attunement, is working to shift in vibration. So if you've been experiencing pain, physical pain, dis-ease, ailments, and they seem to just come out of the blue and they're frustrating you, or you can't pinpoint what's going on, or even if you know what's going on and it doesn't feel like the healing is coming, one, don't fear it. Like, see if you can avoid some of the fear and really surrender it and say, wait a minute, my body is working to invite in more light and shift into a higher frequency. So it's working out pain and tension and disease on a cellular level, on a physiological and biological level, and then at the level of our DNA and our cells, cellular memory. So it's karmic, meaning there is stuff in our genome, in our biology that is ancient, right? Whether it's in our personal lineages and bloodlines, it relates to planet Earth, and it's thousands and thousands and thousands of years of creation and evolution. We carry this stuff in our bodies. I mean, I think about these things all the time, and it mystifies me and intrigues me, and then it can overwhelm me. And that is also an attribute of the energy of the 9, is overwhelm. And a lot of it is energetic overwhelm. And I'm going to break this down a little more. And if you've listened to this podcast and you know me, my numerology is very 9-centric. It's like, okay, this is my lifetime. I get it. I know it. It's frustrating. It's amazing. And it can feel like a burden at times. And that's how the 9 sometimes feels. But what I do know about the 9, and I'm a 9 attitude, meaning the month I was born plus the day I was born, when I reduce it to a single digit, equals 9. And then if you add up the sum total of my whole birthday and reduce it down, it equals 9. So I'm a 9 attitude, and that number is the life path number. And I was also born in a 9 year. So the funny part about that is, like, this year on a personal level, my personal numerology, I'm in an 8 year. I'm always in the cycles of the universal consciousness and collective on a frequency scale with numerology. So we're in an 8 year. It's, an 8 year personally for me. So I'm usually in tune with the frequencies. And that's one of the reasons that I resonate with numbers and numerology and their frequency, is because I happen to be set up just from my blueprint numerologically to be in tune with what's going on in the collective. And that is not an ego-based statement. It's something I fundamentally get. And it is a pain in the behind at times, because it's like lessons are always exacerbated or compounded. And that's a lot of times the energy of the 9. It feels like everything is immense, urgent, and doubling down, like it's imminent. And if you're listening to this in October of 2024 and thinking about the energy of the 9 and drawing some correlations, if you feel an immensity, an intensity, a heaviness, That's the 9. And the trick to the 9, because it's very paradoxical, is to surrender, is to practice acceptance, to practice things like forgiveness or letting go. And I'll dial into that with some practical examples here in a bit. But if you're feeling that kind of urgency or drive, and the way that I interpret it, that it's come through for me most of my life in a very human and practical way, is I'm not doing enough. I have to get everything done. I need to get it done yesterday. It's like emergent and immediate. And whenever I am feeling or experiencing that urgency and tangoing with it, that's when I go, oh, Amanda, take a breath and let go. What can you give to God? Where can you ask for help? Where can you surrender? Where can you trust deeper and more? Where can you be still and know? And one thing that I come back to in thinking about the universe and my outlook in the universe and God and the divine, God is either everything or God is nothing. God either is or God isn't. And that to me is kind of the sum total of the 9. It's all in my perspective or outlook. Do I fundamentally trust that no matter what is going on, whether it is painful and exhaustive and challenging and hard, or luxurious and beautiful and romantic and poetic and joyful, can I accept that I am right where I'm supposed to be and dig into that, not only that deep divine trust, like that is in my genetics, that is there in all of us, and surrender it up so I'm interconnecting the human me with the spiritual me. And so if this stuff sounds immense and cosmic and mystical, it is, but it's also practical. So if you think about all of the vibrational frequencies of the numbers coming before the 9, being part of the 9's characteristic experience and attributes, the 1 plays into the 9, the 2 plays into the 9. And I also think about it sometimes astrologically. I think of all of the zodiac signs, which are kind of this full body scope of our self and our psychology, our hero's journey. The numbers are the same way. I see different attributes of astrological signs within each of the frequencies of the numbers. And in the energy of the 9, when I read for somebody who has heavy 9 energy in their numerology, or they're in a 9 year, or I'm reflecting for myself, I can usually see all of these different traits and attributes coming through. So it's like the lessons are compounding and they're layered. So patience and trust is important. Slowing down, quality over quantity. Those kinds of attitudes and outlooks are really important. Another thing with the 9, just on a practical and literal level, if you add 9 plus any number, it reduces down to the number you added to. So if I add 9 plus 1, it equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. So I added 9 to 1, it reduces down to 1. If I add 9 plus 2, it equals 11. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Whatever you add to the 9, the number that you add to it is the number that it equals. Now listen to this. Whatever you multiply by 9 always reduces down to 9. So let's say you multiply 7 times 9. That equals 63. 6 plus 3 equals 9. Say you multiply 200 by 9. That equals 1800. 1 plus 8 plus 0 equals 9. So when you add a number to 9, it reduces down to the number you add it to. When you multiply a number by 9, it reduces down to 9. The 9 has bizarre qualities unlike any single digit. And when I talk about the energy of the 8, as we know, when we turn it on its side, it's the infinity symbol. And it's this closed circuit. 1 doesn't look like that. 2 doesn't look like that. None of the other numbers are a closed circuit except for 0. So 0 is a closed circuit and 8 is a closed circuit. So while the 8 has these infinite special attributes, so too does the 0. But when it comes to the number 9, it's unlike any other number mathematically. So it also has a uniqueness in its frequency. And, as I talk about this, sometimes I'm like rolling my eyes at myself because I'm telling you all I'm a 9 attitude, 9 life path, and a 9 year. I'm not saying I'm special, because the funny thing about the 9 is the 9's like, no, I'm not special. I'm not seeking attention. I have this quality of knowing, of wisdom, and it doesn't come from ego. Now, the shadow side of the 9, I'll get you into its ego because it's gnarly. But the 9 has a generosity to it, and it's one of its most beautiful qualities is it is generous of its energy, of its knowledge, of its time, of its presence. And guess what? That is a double-edged sword because it wants to give. And it not only wants to give to whatever is in front of it, whatever project it is embracing or relationship that it's in. 9s are very loyal, unless you cross them and then they get mean and angry. But 9s are like devoted from the heart. And where the 9 can get tripped up is it gives because it wants to give. And it doesn't need recognition for its giving, but it wants to feel significant. It knows it's here to contribute, and it doesn't necessarily need words of affirmation or recognition, but deep down, it's imperative that the energy of the 9 knows within itself, not from anything external, that it's significant. So an example of that would be, and I know this of myself and I see it in people with the 9, is we usually do things because why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we share information? Why wouldn't we support? I don't need anybody to know about this or the fanfare. It's like putting the cart away at the grocery store, even if it's pouring down rain and you're in a rush. Most people who have heavy 9 in their energy, they're going to put the cart away because why would they leave extra work for someone? It's going to take 1 more minute to go put that cart away, even if it's raining, and it's inconvenient. It's going to put the cart away. And here's one of the most important things with that generosity. Notice your generosity. So if this is October for you and you're listening, or you're listening later on and learning about the 9 for 2025, there's an element of wanting to give and to share. But the trick with that is being able to share generously from the heart without any expectation of return. It comes straight from the heart. When there is an expectation, the 9 gets hacked off. Like if I am giving and giving and giving and not feeling seen or appreciated, or I have those expectations on myself, I not only get depleted, I get frustrated, aggravated, and sometimes despondent or disillusioned because the 9 is highly idealistic. So it really has to watch out for its expectations, which means when it's in that heart-centered space of unconditional fill in the blank, generosity, love, giving, service, that's when it's in a synergy. So I know for me, like with clients, for example, if I show up with this attitude of, oh my gosh, I get to connect with this person today, a state of expectancy versus expectation. What are they going to teach me? What am I going to be a vessel of for them today? And I come at it at this place of kind of wonder, wide-eyed wonder and expectancy. 99% of the time, it is like I am amped up, revitalized through the immensity of the generosity I'm giving in my spirit and my gifts and my time, but I'm also uplifted. But if I come at any circumstance, really, but I'm using a client as this, if I am tired, if I am run down, if I'm like, okay, I got to get this done today. Okay, I'm showing up, I'm doing this, and I come at it that way, and I don't ever seek to or intend to come at things that way, but I'm human, and we get run down and we have life that happens. But I know if I am run down and I am not centered and opening my heart space before I come out of it heavier, drained energetically. I end up either getting sick, or I get frustrated, or I get into self-pity. Oh my gosh, I'm working so hard and nobody appreciates me. Or, oh my gosh, I work so hard. When am I going to have enough money? I'm just giving you these practical examples because parts of the shadow aspect of the nine can get a little aloof and cold and apathetic because it starts to disassociate or detach, because it's like, I'm giving and I'm giving and I'm giving. And why? What does this all mean? Don't people get it? Can't they just do this for themselves? Don't they get it? It gets very exhausted energetically if it is not taking care of itself, but also enriching its own meaning, purpose, spiritual life. If it is not seeking this heart-centered expansion, it will become sick, exhausted, angry, indifferent, arrogant, malicious. And I'm not a malicious person. That is not my go-to. Rage, sure, I can identify with that one. Most of us don't come from malintent, right? One of those things that's foreign to me, and I know most of you out there are going to be like, yeah, totally. There are people who scheme, or people who practice dark magic.
Just a few years ago, only 3% of domestic violence shelters accepted pets, meaning many abuse survivors had to choose between staying in a difficult situation for their pet or leaving their pet behind. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience domestic abuse in their lifetime, and nearly half of survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina believes in the healing power of pets, particularly for survivors of abuse. They believe pets and people are better together, which is one of the many reasons they started the Purple Leash Project. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping break down one of the many barriers abuse survivors face: the lack of pet-friendly domestic violence shelters. Purina has helped increase the amount of pet-friendly shelters across the country from 3% to nearly 20% through the Purple Leash Project. With more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters, survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to get involved.
The 2024 presidential election is here. MSNBC has the in-depth coverage and analysis you need. Our reporters are on the ground. Steve Kornacki is at the big board breaking down the races. Rachel Maddow and our Decision 2024 team will provide insight as results come in. And the next day, Morning Joe will give you perspective on what it all means for the future of our country. Watch coverage of the 2024 presidential election, Tuesday, November 5th on MSNBC.
This is Dr. Laurie Santos from the Happiness Lab. Many people have questions about how to improve levels of happiness, and there are a lot of different ways. Happiness is unique to each individual, but living a healthy lifestyle is one sure way of increasing happiness. And a good place to start is with your oral health. Just a few small changes to your oral care routine, such as changing your toothpaste to Colgate Total, can lead to beneficial changes in your oral health. Colgate Total helps stop oral health problems like gingivitis and cavities before they start. Before they start is an important part, because preventing oral health problems is a lot easier than treating them. So for a happier, healthier you, use Colgate Total and actively help prevent oral health problems like gingivitis and cavities. You'll be happy you did. Be dentist ready and get Colgate Total at shop.colgate.com/total.
There is a victim of identity theft every 3 seconds in the U.S. During Cybersecurity Awareness Month, LifeLock wants to remind you of the importance of using multi-factor authentication. What's that? Well, while updating your passwords to be more complex is a great first step, multi-factor authentication adds a second protective layer, like getting a text with a security code to help keep your personal information even safer. But for comprehensive identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft issues that arise, guaranteed. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and detects and alerts you to a wide range of threats, well beyond what you can see on your own. If your identity is stolen, your dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Plus, you're backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package with up to $3 million in coverage. Start protecting your identity today with a 30-day free trial at lifelock.com/iHeart. That's lifelock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send instant money transfers, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Get your first month free at greenlight.com/iHeart.
There are people who scheme, or people who practice dark magic with the intent of causing harm. And there are people like that out there. There truly are. And whenever I encounter energies or people that are actually operating from a place of a very low vibrational frequency and there's actual malintent, first of all, it like jolts me back because I can usually feel it. But secondly, I'm dumbfounded because I'm like, gosh, there's so much else going on in the world. Who has time to scheme and manipulate? But we have a lot of that frequency on this planet. So I would be amiss not to share with you all, pay attention to your immediate gut visceral instincts in your relationships when working with the energy of the 9. Because one of the things about the 9 in its idealism, it's a little bit Pollyanna, meaning the 9 has a kind of a scorpionic trait to it where it's like X-ray vision. Immediately it can feel, sense, or see the vibration of someone, whether it is high or low. But what the 9 does in its idealism is it tricks itself very quickly or deludes itself and says, okay, I see their shadow. I see all this muck going on, but oh my gosh, I can see the potential for their light. So we buy into the light and dismiss the shadow. And here's what this is leading to. The 9 out of all the numbers is the least judgmental. The 9 can see both sides of the coin and it appreciates the dark and the light. But it can also be to the detriment of the 9 because when the 9 sees someone and immediately is like, ooh, they're coming from malice or they're stuck in their own muck, or, ooh, this probably isn't a healthy person for me to hang out with, the 9 immediately, a lot of times, it will default into its humanitarian and its generosity, like, well, let me love on them. I'm going to give y'all an example of this that I realized years ago, and it was one of those light bulb moments in relationships. When I think back to my 2 high school boyfriends, I dated 2 really great guys. They were good guys then, and I'm pretty sure they're still good guys today. They were loving and nice and cool and whatever, right? So I date this one guy and he's cool and he's nice and he's fun. And as I'm dating him, he becomes more popular than me. And then I start dating his best friend after that. And the best friend becomes more popular than me and then becomes best friends with the other guy I dated. And then I got left in the lurch. And I'm simplifying this story, but I was unconsciously or innately attracted to their potential, not who they were. And this is very much the 9. The 9 has like an innate energetic leadership that is not like the energy of the 1 or the 8. The 1 and the 8 are both like, I'm leading, I'm taking charge, I've got this, I'll do it, give me the top job, or I want the top job. The 9's like, I can do the top job if you give it to me, but I'll be happy to do another job. But I know that I'm going to like rise up and do the best because that's just kind of what happens. I have these skills, this wisdom, this magnetism, this sum of all the numbers that come before it. But what happens with the 9 is that the 9 sees something heavier and it sees the potential or the light, so it attaches itself sometimes to frequencies that are misaligned with itself because it knows that it's going to uplift the other. And it's unconscious, like it's not on purpose and it doesn't come from malice. It's just this unconscious attraction. But we're in an energy field where that unconscious attraction needs to become conscious. And making sure or becoming aware of connecting with and aligning ourselves with people, jobs, relationships, whatever it may be, that are of a similar caliber, energy, or frequency to where we are versus us, pulling people up. We're not going to have the energy to do a lot of saving and rescuing. It doesn't mean we leave people in the lurch or we're aloof and apathetic, but really being mindful of energetic boundaries and our motives. So it comes down to consciousness and motive. Is my motive, I'm genuinely excited or enriched by this relationship? This relationship is creative, it's passionate, it's exciting. Or is this coming from a place of, I'm going to add value to this relationship? I'm going to add value, which is, if you think of it conversely, is a bit opportunistic, which the 9, when it's out of whack, is opportunistic, meaning, what am I going to get out of this? And what did I get out of those 2 relationships? I got a lot of things. Those high school relationships, I ended up depleted. I ended up feeling like, gosh, those 2 guys ended up cool and I was an outcast by the end, or I wasn't the cool kid. And again, I'm simplifying this story quite a bit, but I just remember thinking I ended up depleted. I ended up disillusioned. I ended up feeling separate than or different from after those relationships started to dissipate. So the 9, when it is unconscious of its motivations, it's dangerous. So one of the biggest things that you can practice with the energy of the 9 would be surrender, recognizing when you get in those crunchy, uncomfortable places that create discord and disease, and being able to first and foremost recognize it, like that recognition without judgment or shame or guilt or grief. Wallow in it, just be like, ooh, that's unkind, or ooh, my motive was opportunistic, or ooh, I did that and I didn't have passion and excitement and creativity for that. I did it because I felt like I had to or needed to, or somebody needed me. So wherever the misguiding energy is, the quicker you can notice it, the quicker you can surrender it to your higher power, your higher self. And that's always, to me, the first mode of action, which I would also encourage a 7 energy. Anybody that's in the 7, or you're in a 7-year cycle, or you have heavy 7 in your numerology, for you all, the seekers and the searchers, when you have those transcendent aha moments, whether it's around something dark or light, the first thing you do is you give it up to spirit. You go, oh, wow, or, oh my gosh, spirit, help me with this. God, help me with this. Higher self, help me with this. Guides, angels, help me with this. It's like the first mode of action is giving it to something bigger, greater, higher, that is intangible. Whatever your belief system is, surrendering it up higher, and then the clarity and the practicality will come, or the resourcefulness around your motivation, like wise sizing your motive, your point of attraction or perspective. Forgiveness is also a cornerstone that is imperative for the 9. And forgiveness has a little bit of surrender in it too, because when we forgive, like when we truly forgive ourselves for something or someone else, it's the most freeing thing in the world. And I know all of you out there at some point have forgiven someone or some circumstance that you thought you'd never let go of or forgive. The 9s also are not forcers. I mean, they can be in their low vibrational state, but the 9s are learning not so much to go with the flow as they are to just show up and intuitively know or intuitively trust that they will have the resources, the capacity, the intelligence, the wherewithal to respond, to be equipped, to have the tools or resources they need. So think about that like the hero's journey. And the 9 is like the hero's journey. And one of the cornerstones of Joseph Campbell's archetype of the hero. And if you're not familiar with Joseph Campbell and the archetype of the hero and the story the hero goes through, think of Harry Potter or Bilbo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings, like Luke Skywalker, like any of those heroes, and they walk through the journey of the hero and the archetype. There's a call to action with the hero. The hero says, oh my gosh, this gauntlet has been placed in front of me. Am I going to respond? Am I going to go for it? Or am I going to walk away? That's kind of how the energy of the 9 feels. But what happens is when the 9 or the hero heeds the call, it starts out on a quest. And of course, it's going to slay dragons and have dementors and he who shall not be named, like it's going to have all of that. Darth Vaders that turn out to be your father. Luke, I am your father. All of these beautiful mythic stories are kind of some of the energy of the 9, where it's like there's going to be plot twists. There are going to be dragons to slay. But what always happens with the hero and the journey is the right people, places, and resources show up at exactly the right moment. And the hero intuitively knows how to connect or respond, whether they know it or not. It's like a magnetism. So you think about Harry Potter, and of course the theme is, just like Star Wars, it's the light, it's love, it's friendship, it's connection, it's from the heart. If something is coming from the heart and healing the pains and the fears and the darkness, it's going to win out. And that's a little bit of what 2025 feels like. It feels mythic. And I'm not going to use the word apocalyptic, but I could, because we're seeing a lot of natural disasters and events in our world that are emergent, immediate, confronting, disastrous. Look at what we have going on with the hurricanes, and not only the hurricanes in the United States. Poland has flooded. There's a lot going on internationally with the earth and the earth's atmosphere. And these events, and I'm being mythic rather than apocalyptic, because that's how the 9 thinks. The 9's like, I'm on the quest of the hero's journey. Bring it on. Like, bring the dragons on, because I trust that I'm going to have my lightsaber or my sword from the stone, to Excalibur to be able to respond, or my wand, or my friend Hermione, whatever it is, I'm going to have my resources. So bring it on. So it's adventurous in a way and fearless, when it's not in its fear and its shadow. But these events are compounding. We are going to see more and more events that not only spark the most beauty in humanity, but spark the most horror, terror, and reaction. And if you just use these hurricanes as an example of that have happened in the United States and affected Florida and all the states above, and especially the Carolinas with the flooding, I know from all of my dear friends and loved ones who live in the North Carolina, like Asheville, Brevard, when you have hurricanes, you see this like amazing humanity, right? I've been in my fair share, and like people just show up to help and support. And then on the flip side of that, we have looting and killing and scarcity and reactionary behavior where it just disregards the heart and it's out for itself. And 2025 feels mythic. We have the election coming up. Any way the election falls, there's going to be disruption. Disruption is now, right? And the 9, the beauty of what the universe and the cosmos is gifting us, and not only in the astrology and the numerology, but the solar flares that we have coming in. And I'm going to do a whole podcast on solar flares because these are worth diving into a little bit. But we had a massive solar flare that was the largest solar flare we've had since 2017, right around the Libra new moon solar eclipse on October 2nd, 2024. And these solar flares are tremendously disrupting our atmosphere. And the frequencies of planet Earth. And we are energetic beings that are sensitive, energetically sensitive. Our world and frequencies are speeding up, and our bodies, while they are mostly water, they're also denser matter. So they're having a very difficult time responding to and shifting. So if you've been experiencing tremendous pain in your body, or stuff has been coming up for you physically, like where you felt fatigue, or you're restless and you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't sleep, or you've got an ailment physically, headaches, lots of headaches. And I mean debilitating headaches for people who don't normally experience the horror of migraines, and we all have friends or even ourselves who have dealt with migraines where they have to turn the lights out and they get nauseous. I mean, people are experiencing health events that feel out of the blue, that are overwhelming. And I truly believe that we are raising in frequency, and it's like an expedited period. From now, it's already happening, right? And I know a lot of you can feel it. From now through 2027, 2028, and beyond. But it's like that right there is a sandwich of acceleration, like collective acceleration that hasn't happened for a few hundred years since, let's say, the Industrial Revolution. If you're a history buff, or you can connect these dots, the acceleration and advancement we've had since the Industrial Revolution has continued to compound. And if you look from the 80s to the 90s to the early 2000s and beyond, it's like exponential expansion of technology abilities. And we know the expansion of technology right now is outpacing our ability to keep up. So we are in kind of these final stages of this acceleration, and it's heavy, it's overwhelming. And the 9 basically says, show up as the hero or go home. When I say this, it may sound harsh, but for all of you listening, you're seeking and searching, and you are incorporating mind, body, spirit practices to create clarity and healing and heal traumas and pains. But I tell you what, whatever old trauma you have that you've experienced in this lifetime, whatever trauma that you've walked through or you're currently walking through, resolve it to your best ability. Does it mean you just poof and it's all gone and it's, you're never going to think of it again? No, but it can give you context. So I encourage you, whatever trauma, if you are just embarking on a therapy journey or working on healing an addiction that's born out of a lot of pain and trauma, anything that you're working on between now and early January, February of 2025, it's like commit to your personal healing, because as we progress in the couple of years ahead, that stuff's going to be less important because we're going to have things in the clear and present that we are responding to. And we either respond to it from an old place of trauma, pain, and reaction, or we respond to it from a higher frequency that is more 6th-dimensional energy that comes from solution and love. And when you do that, you've conditioned your reality to be in a higher vibrational state where you are more safeguarded from violence or dissension. And whether that is just in your community, on a global scale, I truly believe that our vibrational frequencies will guide, direct, and keep us safe if we're jumping into a higher frequency. Otherwise, it may feel more polarized and violent and scary and confronting and reactive. And for everybody on this call, like, you're on the higher ship, not push through, but embrace with resolve. And you all know I've talked a lot about the energy of the 8. Resiliency and resolve have been 2 massive cornerstones of the energy of the 8. And the numbers are sequential. They build on each other, the lessons do, and that resiliency and resolve right now is best directed on healing all of our muck, our stuff, our personal power struggles. Anywhere you're having a personal power struggle, old anger, old pain, old trauma, and however it's showing up with you, whether it's physically, whether it's in a toxic relationship or work environment, however it is showing up, where can you create healing for yourself in order to create a new chain reaction? And that's important.
Just a few years ago, only 3% of domestic violence shelters accepted pets, meaning many abuse survivors had to choose between staying in a difficult situation for their pet or leaving their pet behind. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience domestic abuse in their lifetime, and nearly half of survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina believes in the healing power of pets, particularly for survivors of abuse. They believe pets and people are better together, which is one of the many reasons they started the Purple Leash Project. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping break down one of the many barriers abuse survivors face: the lack of pet-friendly domestic violence shelters. Purina has helped increase the amount of pet-friendly shelters across the country from 3% to nearly 20% through the Purple Leash Project. With more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters, survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to get involved.
The 2024 presidential election is here. MSNBC has the in-depth coverage and analysis you need. Our reporters are on the ground. Steve Kornacki is at the big board breaking down the races. Rachel Maddow and our Decision 2024 team will provide insight as results come in. And the next day, Morning Joe will give you perspective on what it all means for the future of our country. Watch coverage of the 2024 presidential election, Tuesday, November 5th on MSNBC.
This is Dr. Laurie Santos from the Happiness Lab. Many people have questions about how to improve levels of happiness, and there are a lot of different ways. Happiness is unique to each individual, but living a healthy lifestyle is one sure way of increasing happiness. And a good place to start is with your oral health. Just a few small changes to your oral care routine, such as changing your toothpaste to Colgate Total, can lead to beneficial changes in your oral health. Colgate Total helps stop oral health problems like gingivitis and cavities before they start. Before they start is an important part, because preventing oral health problems is a lot easier than treating them. So for a happier, healthier you, use Colgate Total and actively help prevent oral health problems like gingivitis and cavities. You'll be happy you did. Be dentist ready and get Colgate Total at shop.colgate.com/total.
In the world of architecture, engineering, and construction, every detail counts. That's why over 3 million professionals trust Bluebeam for PDF markups, digital workflows, and project collaboration. Whether you're an architect, engineer, or project manager, Bluebeam's easy-to-use software helps you communicate clearly, collaborate in real time, and get more done faster. And the best part, you can try Bluebeam for free for 14 days. No credit card required. Visit Bluebeam.com today.
Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I know, right? I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
Oh, no, I meant those blackout motorized shades. MVP of the room.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. Even you could do it.
Nice.
I installed these and then got some for my mom, too.
What, you fly across the country to do the install?
Nope. Blinds.com can do it all. All she had to do was pick what she wanted. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Look at you, a Hall of Fame son.
Oh, I just picked the winning team. They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Oh, Blinds.com is the GOAT.
The GOAT!
Shop the Blinds.com Primetime Kickoff event happening now and save up to 50% off select styles. Plus doorbusters. Up to 50% off at Blinds.com. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
I'll kind of close with maybe some journal prompts and things, reflections and things to think about with the 9. The 9 is about closure. So it's always about creating space for new beginnings, because in 2025, we'll be in a 9 year, which means 2026 is a 1 year of new beginnings. So the 9 is about tying up loose ends, which is why I was sharing any personal drama, trauma, pain that it's time to resolve. If it's financial fear, if it's a health crisis, like, this is the time to heal it, because closing, like tying up those loose ends, that's a lot of what the 9 is about. So I would spend some time thinking about what's coming to a close in my life and how do I close it out in integrity. The 9 is also about stepping into a higher calling, like I was talking about being the hero, the myth. So any attachments that are not connected to your higher meaning, your spiritual purpose, where can you release those attachments, whether it's people or material items? This is the time to really, really focus on a self-assessment of releasing attachments that are no longer connected to your higher purpose, or limiting your generosity, your love, the sharing of your wisdom. So a good place to start is asking yourself, what areas of my life am I experiencing the greatest passion, success, creativity, or abundance? And that relates to the energy of 2024 and the 8. Where in your life, even if you are struggling right now, where do you find joy or happiness or peace? Whichever word resonates with you, because sometimes we're just struggling, right? And it's a hard year or a hard season. And it's like, okay, I find peace when it is, 8:30 p.m. at night and everybody is asleep. And I can just relax and watch Netflix for 2 hours and just like be here and nobody needs me. And like, I don't have to think about the world and work and what's on my plate the next day. Okay, like that's a starting place. But where are you finding your peace, your relaxation, or your success and abundance? And then your question is, how can I maximize that? How can I create more of that? And the beginnings of it, a lot of times, is just started in your attitude and your prayers and your intentions, giving it to your soul, your higher power. Also, another question would be, if this is going to be emergent and you're ready to heal or grow or level up, what do I absolutely need to let go of that is not aligned with my highest good? And all of us know deep down what those things are. Does it mean it's going to be easy? No, because the path of integrity and wisdom never is. And the 9 is the number of integrity. It wants to move from integrity earnestly. It doesn't always do that, but it wants to. Just like a Libra wants balance. It's not as everybody's like, oh yeah, Libras are balanced. Oh heck no, we're not. We're seeking balance. It's the same with the 9. It's seeking integrity. It has integrity, but is it choosing to use its integrity? Another question might be, where can I practice forgiveness? Who am I not forgiving? And whether it is yourself or someone in your life, are you ready to or willing to practice forgiveness? And that is like, dig deep down. Even if you think you've forgiven somebody, because sometimes I will think I have let go of something, someone, or forgiven them. And when it comes down to it, I'm like, oh shoot, I haven't. That happened to me last year. Like, there just was an old family scenario that was very wounding and very traumatic. And when it happened, I wasn't old enough and I didn't have the tools and maturity and experience to respond healthfully at the time, or stand up for myself, or be true to myself, communicate well enough. I was pretty young when this thing happened. And I've done a lot of growth and a lot of work on my resentments and forgiveness. And last year we had a family event, and I was going to see this person who had truly, I'm not taking the victim role here for a while. I was definitely in the victim role, But it was like this person had pretty much been, like a Voldemort in my life, like definitely a perp, like a Voldemort. And when I started thinking about this family event and me seeing them, I got an ick factor, and I got a little bit like, oh, F you. Like I felt it. Like it was like, oh, I'm going to be fine. Screw you. Like in my heart, like that's where the 9 feels it. And I was like, well, shoot. I thought I had practiced forgiveness, but the knowledge that I will see this person face to face and I still want to be a little, like a little salty, or I want to turn around and run the other way. Like with them, that right there said, Amanda, you might think you've practiced forgiveness, but you haven't. And that was about 6 months before I saw this person at this holiday event. And in that 6 months, I said, oh, heck no. Like, I'm ready to forgive and to be in this place of neutrality and love, and also knowing that I will have the tools and resources to respond in integrity when I encounter this person. And I mean, I rolled up my sleeves. I reached out to the woman who helps me on a spiritual level, and I said, let's dig deep and let's look at my side of the street because it's not clean. And that's what the energy of the 9 will say to us. And it will say that to us over and over again next year is, what side of my street did I maybe think I'd cleaned up, but that's not clean? And how can I clean it up from a heart-centered place? And the most amazing thing happened by the time, we had that holiday event. The interaction was, of course, as it always is, easy and miraculous. And it wasn't about the other person. It was about me growing and knowing I wasn't being ugly or angry in my heart with a smile on my face, because that's not integrity. And for this Libra and 9 attitude, 9 path, born in a 9 year, when I do the work and when I heal the ugly parts and I integrate those ugly parts, they alchemize into pure positive potential. And all of us are getting this great opportunity. So think of the energy of the 9 as the hero's journey, as it being mythic. And that's the way, and the energy field, I hope that each of you in your own way, in your own consciousness, can translate and alchemize that. Because just think, if a small group of us can do that, we can raise and shift the frequency of this whole planet and live in an Eden, a time of Atlantis or Lemuria. I'll do some episodes on Atlantis and Lemuria, but I'm also going to do a solar flare episode. So those are to come, and that'll kind of feed your soul and your consciousness a little bit more and equip you with more excitement to embrace your own hero's journey. Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Be well. Thank you so much for listening to Soul Sessions. If you've got questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Email us, podcast@soulsessions.me. If you love this podcast and you want to hear more, make sure you're following it, liking and subscribing, and sharing it with other people. Send this energy out. Share it with other people. Remember, you can always get your dose of Soul Sessions. New episodes drop on Wednesdays. You can also follow me on Instagram, TikTok. It's @soulpathology, or check out soulpathology.com. I appreciate you and your light. Thanks for listening.
One in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience domestic abuse in their lifetime, and nearly half of survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina started the Purple Leash Project to help eliminate one of the many barriers domestic abuse survivors face: a lack of pet-friendly domestic violence shelters. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters across the country, so abuse survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to get involved.
Does money stress you out? Let Facet flip your financial chaos into clarity.
We feel way more confident and secure in our finances, and with that comes a sense of freedom.
Financial planning from Facet is here to help you improve your life today, tomorrow, and every day after that.
Facet was really the place where we saw all of the tools and the people coming together.
Visit Facet.com, FACET.com to learn more. This ad is sponsored by Facet. Facet Wealth is an SEC registered investment advisor. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities, nor is it investment, legal, or tax advice. These testimonials are from current Facet members who are not compensated. All opinions are their own and not a guarantee of a similar outcome.
Kroger brand products have the great taste you'll celebrate. That's why over 40 million people choose Kroger brand products, making them a true crowd pleaser. And with quality guaranteed, you'll love your choice or get your money back. Score Kroger brand products with savings you can cheer for and great taste you can't resist. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
The iHeartRadio Music Festival was a blast, and Hyundai's EV lineup was there for every moment. In Vegas, Hyundai took VIPs to the Speedway to test drive the 601-horsepower Ioniq 5N. On Friday, the EV Sessions winner was announced, Hyundai's music contest on TikTok. The twist? Their performances were all powered by the all-electric Hyundai Ioniq 5. How cool is that? And after the show, fans got to check out the Hyundai dance floor at House of Music. Thanks again to Hyundai's amazing EV lineup. Learn more at HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603.
This is Dr. Laurie Santos from the Happiness Lab. Many people have questions about how to improve levels of happiness. Living a healthy lifestyle is one sure way of increasing happiness. And a good place to start is with your oral health. Just a few small changes to your oral care routine, such as changing your toothpaste to Colgate Total, can lead to beneficial changes in your oral health. Colgate Total helps stop oral health problems like gingivitis and cavities before they start, because preventing oral health problems is a lot easier than treating them. Be dentist ready and get Colgate Total at shop.colgate.com/total.